2022 has so far seen a new influx of announcements in the MMORPG space. Games such as Throne of Liberty, a game being heralded as a spiritual successor to Lineage 2, has made the release trailer, for instance. Another game, known as Ballatoras, has also released and made notice and aware that it is out there, with nothing other than image references to the project. We've also seen an increasing development of current in alpha or pre-alpha MMORPGs, such as Ashes Creation, which has seen a fair amount of development updates, which is also the case with another game known as Pantheon Rise the Fallen, which has consistent updates month on month regarding its progress towards alpha. But what of other projects in the MMORPG space? We saw recently with my video on Legends of Aria with its relaunch into the blockchain sort of variety, and this is sort of keeping my interest into other smaller MMORPGs that are currently in development, which leads us on to the subject of today's video. Yes, the MMORPG that we're going to be looking at today is called Ravendawn, and yes, this is their most recent release trailer. There isn't any gameplay footage in this trailer, but the artistic style is interesting and good at setting the scene for the overall game. However, we're going to be moving on to developer footage from previous trailers and alpha releases that show what we may have in store with Ravendawn and discuss what the main elements of what Ravendawn has in store for us. Ravendawn is an isometric, sprite-based MMO developed in OpenTibia. Whilst the artistic style may be retro, the style of the game in general I feel falls into the older style of isometric games akin to older JRPGs. However, the main draw of the game, it could be argued that Ravendawn is taking specific inspiration from another game in the MMORPG category, that being Ultima Online. Ravendawn sells itself on the premise of 3 words: explore, create, rule, which cannot be too dissimilar in how the aforementioned MMO was. The idea that content is developed by the player in a sandbox fashion, rather than being a theme park experience. Their website harkens onto several principles, one such being the ability to build nearly anywhere to your fancy, meaning that one could build a base of operations and maintain it in even the far-flung corners of Ravendawn. Promoting this further, the game highlights that this will also be a player-driven economy, highlighting the fact that players be responsible for crafting their own gear in question, but then also the bringing in transportation of tools and equipment across the continents. It even has a section of the trailer where it seems to almost mirror that of Albion Online, where a caravan is attacked, highlighting the potential aspect of danger for open world travel and PvP that could be available, if not showing that the dangers of transportation would still exist, but ultimately highlighting that it is a risk and reward for the setting. Furthermore, the team over at Ravendawn/Living Phoenix Entertainment highlight that the realm would be ever-changing and up for the player to explore, all the way down to the fact that the game will be based on player politics, even going as far as including a reputation system that will highlight those players who are dealing in a good and orderly fashion and a chaotic or evil fashion. All such things together compose a fairly thought-out system that intends to create an experience to many of the older style MMORPGs that will bring back to a sandbox experience. Potentially the same that will be offered in Ravendawn. But people might ask, why is this the case? MMORPG development over the years has slowly waned. Designs that were once prevalent, such as theme park MMORPGs, have slowly shown that over the years, the concept of the game is being slowly worn out and drawn out, as developers are seemingly unable to add anything quote-unquote fresh into their games. With the return of the sandbox MMORPGs, some people may be looking for the nostalgia that came with games, such as in EverQuest. Games that bring the player back to a time where the majority of the content was driven by the players themselves, and that challenges in the world were to be conquered in a social environment, not just signing up for a looking for group system and then having the content thrown at them with little or further interaction. Another point in this ideal is regarding graphics. Well, do these matter in a modern day MMORPG? We are seeing through the improvements of graphics, such as the developments of the graphical potential in Ashes of Creation with their Unreal Engine 5 reveal, where a heavy reliance is put on increasing the potential hardware to provide bigger, better, and more profound experiences in terms of the fidelity. But there are outliers in this sort of graphical revolution. Take an example of old school RuneScape. Despite it having a more graphically updated sibling in RuneScape 3, old school RuneScape is a fundamentally better performing game. Some people drawn to the nostalgia of playing the game in their childhood, but also some drawn to the fact that it isn't reliant on graphics to provide a well-meaning and complete experience. Similarly, it could be argued that the more retro style of graphics in games, or a function over form sort of game, in the premise of Dwarf Fortress, shows that the mechanics of the game are far more interesting than the actual graphics of the game in regards to playing. Such is the case that it is likely that this graphical style in Ravendawn will put off some people, given that it will be returning to a game that is based on its function rather than how good it looks. But to many, it may certainly hit home as a return to the older style aesthetics that is missed in the modern day. In the case of Ravendawn, I feel that the art style adds to the sort of game that it wants to present. The function of the game, providing systems, and the ability to play in a sandbox experience is aided by the fact that the game has a lower graphical fidelity, as the less time can be spent on this element versus the implementation of the many systems that a sandbox game would require. Given the push towards sandbox games at the moment, I feel that Ravendawn is potentially coming out at the best time. Whilst some may be put off by the outdated graphics, quote unquote, I feel that it is the intention of this game to present an older style of MMORPG, such as Ultima Online, which is to its benefit, as the community may be seeking the next sandbox title to spend their hours in, and the aspect of nostalgia will bring the player back in. Players may enjoy the freedom that the game might bring, perhaps exploring into the wild yonder, setting up their townscapes and indulging in the merciless of player versus player trade might be the unique challenge that would entice those to see past the sprite and isometric game style. All in all, I feel that the game is certainly unique in terms of its point of entry, and whilst not specifically to my own tastes, I do wish the game well, especially now that the game has, as they advise, has entered its final alpha testing phase. If you are interested, I'll leave a link to their website down below, so that you can check it out in your own time and potentially consider supporting the game. But that is it for today's video. If you have enjoyed the video, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it will really help me figure out what you guys want to know and want to watch. But otherwise, take care and have a lovely day.